If you think this war hasn't affected you, you're wrong. This war has actually affected all of us, including us, people who like perfumes, buying fragrances from all over the world, right? I would highly recommend you strategize a good financial plan for the next year, because I'm telling you right now, your expenses are gonna go up every month. If you're in the States, you're probably gonna end up spending a good $300 to $400 more a month. If not on groceries, then on gas. If not on gas and groceries, then maybe even on these fragrances. And I'm doing my absolute best not to increase prices, but it's starting to seem like, you guys, it's coming. It's definitely coming. And not just aromatics. I'm not just talking about this. We're talking about Oman Luxury. We're talking about YSL. We're talking about PDM. We're talking about Initio. We're talking about everything.
Yeah. So sounds like shit's about to hit the fan. And I don't think that comes as a shock to any of us, right? I think if you've been paying any attention to what's been happening in the world, you know that regardless of where you are, what is happening right now is going to impact your life in some way or another sooner or later. Okay, that's the reality. This video is not just going to be, a depressing doom and gloom. I want to try to be as productive and strategic and helpful in this video as possible. Here's what you should know about me. I am a fragrance reviewer who also happens to be very passionate about fragrance. But before I started getting into reviewing fragrance officially on TikTok, on Instagram, on now YouTube, I did not have all of these bottles behind me. I was not that type of fragrance hobbyist. There are different tiers of what type of hobbyist you can be when it comes to perfume. There are people who will buy 1 or 2 bottles and use those 1 or 2 bottles for the entire year. Those are their daily drivers. They're just using it as, a pure practical function, as like, a belt. They have one belt that they use to keep their pants up. They have 1 or 2 perfumes to add that extra smell to their outfit, and they go out about their day, right? Then there are people who love perfume, listen to perfume content, research perfumes, buy a bunch of samples, and upgrade their collection as they can within their budget. And then there are level 3, which are, I've got more than 3,000 bottles of perfumes. I know I'm not gonna use all of them, but I don't care. It's more about, I'm buying these perfumes because I love the hobby, the smells. I love to collect the bottles, that whole thing, right? Before I started creating fragrance content, I was a level 2 fragrance hobbyist. I would read and listen to every single review. I would keep up with every single release. I would do research. I would buy tons and tons and tons of samples. And I say all that to say that when you watch my videos or when you watch any fragrance content, please don't feel like you should compare yourself to them and have to acquire everything, right? When I would watch Demi and Steven from Adolescence and Jeremy, I never felt like I had to buy everything. That wasn't why I was watching their content. It was to learn about fragrances. It was to hear about different people's experiences with different fragrances. Some of their tastes I would align with more or less, and I would still watch them because I just like learning and hearing about fragrance. And sometimes I see people comment things like, oh my gosh, I thought it was all fine, but I just watched this video and now my wallet's gonna be hurting. I hope that people aren't doing that. I really hope that people are not putting themselves in a bad financial spot just because they hear about a perfume that they like. There are always going to be more and more and more and more fragrance releases, right? Just because something new and shiny comes out does not mean that you have to buy it. And how does that tie into what's happening in the world right now? Right now, as Neve from Aromatics mentioned, we are going to be in a rough spot. Even if the war were to end today, we are going to be in a rough spot globally, financially. Even if you don't feel it today, you might feel it at the gas station. It's going to be hard for a while, right? I'm not trying to say that to be doom and gloom and like, an anarchist. I do think that we will bounce back like we have continuously bounced back in human civilization. But let's also be realistic that we're going to go through a rough patch. Okay, this is not going to be the golden age, as our president said. This is going to be a rough age. If you haven't been properly budgeting before, you should do so now to make sure that you can at least try to mitigate the pain that will likely be happening to all of us. And that includes our luxury spending choices like perfume. That's another thing I want to mention. I don't want to diminish the fact that the things that I'm talking about that are going to be happening within the fragrance space, this is a first world problem. There are people who are suffering a lot more, right? There are people who actually have their lives on the line a lot more around the world who are really feeling true pain. What I'm talking about is economic and luxury and first world problem pains that a lot of us here, well, I don't know where you're watching this from, but a lot of us here in the US will definitely have to deal with. And so as I continue to create my fragrance content, and I post daily, as you guys know, I just don't want you to feel like I am not aware of what is happening and that I'm not aware of people's wallets and how tight they will need to be. And I don't want you to ever feel pressured to buy something or feel like you have to keep up with the Joneses or keep up with me. Again, I did not have all these perfumes behind me until I started doing fragrance content, okay? I had 2 niche perfumes that I had full-size bottles of, Baccarat Rouge 540 and Perfume Aroma Aqua e Zucchero. Those were my 2 favorite niche fragrances that I would wear year after year after year. I would layer them, I would wear them individually, and then again, I would amass hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of samples. And if I didn't find a perfume that I felt was better than those 2, I wouldn't buy it. And something that I've thought about, guys, I'm very, very curious to hear your thoughts on this. Please let me know. Please comment down below what you think, because whether or not I do this will be completely dependent on the market and whether or not there's a need for it. I know a lot of people have a hard time finding samples of certain perfumes. Niche, I think, is a little bit easier with websites like Lucky Scent or Split Scent, and even Designer. You can go to a store usually and smell it. But with Middle Eastern, most of the Middle Eastern fragrances that I've purchased, most of them are blind buys. So something that I've been wondering is whether or not I should open up a small decant business to go alongside this YouTube channel, so that when I am talking about some of these reviews, if you're really interested in sampling it before you buy it, you'll be able to access it. But there are a lot of like logistics and rules and whatnot around that. So let me know, guys, if you have an interest in that and if that is something that you would appreciate me looking into, and if not, totally fine as well. So would love to hear your guys' thoughts on all of that. And what kind of perfume person are you? Are you the level 1 person who buys 1 or 2 perfumes just as like an everyday fragrance that you will wear throughout the entire year? Are you what I was, where you're listening to all the reviews, you're buying all the samples, you're smelling and reading all the things? Or are you now at level 3, where you have hundreds of bottles that you've amassed and you're building out your perfume collection and you are a true collector? Let me know, guys, and I will see you back tomorrow for our next episode.